Hey all, and welcome to Monday Night's Treasure Vortex with Gypsy from YouTube's Zero Discrimination, as well as gypsydigs.com, and myself, Amanda Digger DeGaz. I have to say thank you all so very much for all the messages and support the last 2 weeks. Um, Life can really get crazy sometimes. Gypsy's had, her move. We've both had a lot of personal stuff going on with our families. So, really, really big, giant thank you. Thank you to our listeners. Thank you to our friends. We greatly appreciate all the positive thoughts and messages that you've all sent. So, yeah, well, with that said, hey, Gypsy, how are you?
Hey, I'm doing good. It's good to be back home. I had fun in North Carolina, but I'm glad to be back home. I'm still not unpacked. For those of you that were asking about my move and stuff, I'm actually working on building a room, kind of like a relic room slash, you know, stuff, extra room to put some of my stuff in. But anyway, it's been crazy, and it's good to be back. But I've been hit the ground running, busy with other stuff that we can talk about later.
Yeah.
How about you?
Same,
What you been doing?
same. Been really busy,
Same.
spending a lot of time with family, spending a lot of time with my dad, and I have gotten out though. Um,
Yeah.
yeah, so I was hitting up that old field that I was telling you about that I found the three ringer at, and I've popped 3 coppers there now. So that's been pretty exciting. Um, a toe tap, a thimble, some pocket knives, buckles, and John's found some really crazy things too. That's the best part. He's gone out detecting with me these past few times, so that's been a lot of
Wow.
fun.
What did he find?
So he found this like lead whirligig like toy thing, those like lead,
Hmm.
except his is like almost looks like a spur with 2 holes and it's lead. So I think it is one of those toys that you put on the string that kids used to play with back in the day. As kids used to
Oh
play with
wow.
lead back in the day.
Yes.
uh,
Poisonous.
yep, yep. Let's see, what else has he found? He's found a ton of buttons and buckles. But, he finds the little itty bitty pretty buttons, the ones with designs and
Right.
yep. So I was like, not jealous, but I'm like, save some of those for me.
Right. Right.
So, but yeah, gotten out detecting, and got the word from a couple permissions that I've had prior that it's still a go for this year, which is always a great feeling. And one of the older sites that I have, they're actually going to be starting excavation tomorrow, and I'm allowed on site. So I'm pretty excited by that. So,
Oh, wow.
yeah, so
Interesting.
I can't
You
wait.
excited?
I am. I am. I have to work tomorrow, so I figure after work I will get down and, potentially see what's there. But yeah, I'm pretty excited, but it's going to be sad because that means the end of that permission once they start building. So hopefully,
Yeah, that's always so sad when you know that something's about to be built and you only have a short time to hunt a place, and it's like there's never enough time because I know that you can go back to one property like 50 to 100 times and it's still not hunted out,
yes. Yep.
you know?
I
And it's just crazy. It's sad, that some of these spots just get covered up for who knows another couple hundred years.
yeah, exactly, exactly. And that's the thing is I've been digging, detecting there for quite some time and yeah, it's crazy. It's crazy. So I will be sad once it once it's done, but at the same time, I know I've saved a lot, and this is one of those permissions that each time I've given everything back and they display it. So when I went over and talked, he said the stuff from the location that's being excavated will be put into the building that's going to be taking that spot. So that's,
Oh,
yeah,
really?
yeah,
Okay,
so that's
that's
neat.
cool.
I was like,
That's really
awesome.
neat.
Yeah, I always love stuff like that. So,
Yeah, yeah, for sure. So they're going to display it like in some display cases inside, or
yep,
are
I
you going to help
usually,
put that together?
yeah, I usually give them the display cases, and then
Hmm.
his wife does, I don't use glue or any of that. Usually I'll try to add extra cardboard so it underneath the foam so it holds it in place, but I think she might do something to it so it stays so they can hang it up. I
Okay,
haven't asked, so but yeah,
very neat.
yeah, I like it. So, but you got to go to Digstock. I'm so
I
excited for you.
I did. It was a lot. It was a blast. It was great catching up with old friends and also meeting new friends. And the best part, I was not at a booth. I got to go dig, and um, I found some really cool stuff. And I'm really excited. I don't want a big spoiler or anything like that. So some of you are going to just have to be patient and wait for a video about that, because I did get a bucket lister. I know there are a few people that know about my bucket lister, um, but including you.
Mhm.
But
Mhm.
I just don't want to disclose it yet. Garrett was wanting some video and some uh, what do you call it, photos and stuff. So I sent them some stuff. So they may be putting something out. I just don't know when. Hopefully I'll have my video edited and ready before that pops up. So, yeah, had a great time. I got my bucket lister on a private permission, which really was crazy how that turned out. One of our friends that we were detecting with, some people pulled in, or a fella pulled in, a local, and was asking what all was going on. What are all these diggers around for? Or what's going on? And he told him, and turned out that um, he owned some property and it had never been metal detected, and um, we were like, we really lucked out. We arrived at this property, and the first field we went to had an old homestead on it. We started finding brick and pottery,
Oh, that's
and I even
awesome.
found part of a clay pipe stem.
Mhm.
And I was just like, okay, we're just going to stay here. And then we started finding buttons, flat buttons, and other cool stuff. And then we ended up checking out some other places. There was a river that ran through it, a major river, which would explain part of one of my finds. But um, but the thing about that, we went to that location, didn't find anything much of anything interesting. Went to another part on the property and didn't find anything there, so we ended up going back to that field. So, but back to the actual dig stock properties, we got on one spot where I got a lot of really cool finds, and my friend Zola that drove up there with me, she found some really good finds on the dig stock property. And she got a bucket lister that she didn't even realize it was a bucket lister, but this is her only second silver coin ever, and she got a barber quarter.
Ooh.
Yeah, yeah. I mean, how epic is that? She was using the Garrett Ace Apex multi-frequency detector that I feel like has kind of, since it came out, because it wasn't water submersible like other brands, that it's kind of been sloughed out. But I tell you, the people, a lot of the people we were hunting were using other brands, and those, our Apexes were They were killing it. We were finding some really cool stuff. So, and you were out with your Apex as well, weren't you, when you found the stuff that you found this week? Tell
I
us
sure
about that.
was. Yeah, I was out with the Apex. I'm still trying to Oh, excuse me. I'm still trying to put in hours and get to really know the
Yeah.
machine because I have way more hours invested in my weights machines, which they're still great.
Oh,
I
yeah.
still plan on using them. But it's one of those
Right.
things you got to
Definitely.
leave them at home and get out with
Yeah,
that
and
new
it's
one.
hard not to go back. It's hard not to go back to a machine that you're, not familiar with because you just, and I've seen that so many times within what we do where people will, um, they will buy a new detector and they'll use it for a week or two and they're like, they either go back to their old or they think there's always something better and they'll go buy another new machine and then another new machine and another machine and they won't take the time to really learn their machine. No matter what machine you're using, just take the time to learn it. That's the key. And I know that one day you'll be just efficient. I mean, you found 3 coppers with it.
Yeah.
And what you said you found a thimble and a toe tap?
A thimble, toe tap, pocket knife, 3 coppers, an Indian head, buckles. I mean, I'm finding stuff with it. It's just one of those things that I'm not, and this comes with, spending the time and knowing with the MX7 or the MX Sport or even my MXT, after using them for so long, you knew what you were digging. I mean, sometimes you'd get
Oh,
surprised
yes.
because that happens.
Yes,
But
it
now it's
does.
it's absolutely new, so I'm never quite sure. I'm doing the X like I normally did in the beginning with using those
Right.
machines, but it's still one of those, is this, and then I
Yeah.
did definitely
Not
dug
sure.
I definitely dug a hole that I could throw myself in at one point. Um, to find out that it was definitely iron that was probably bigger than me. So I should have just thrown
Oh,
myself into
big
the
flat
hole.
iron. Yeah.
And then sadly, there was another spot. I mean, this giant field, we still have sections that are frozen. So there was another really good signal, and you can
Oh, you couldn't
only,
get to it.
nope. And I gave up. I was like, I can't. I'm gonna break my wrist trying to chop at the dirt ice, and it's probably gonna be something really good, and I'm gonna destroy whatever it is. So, um,
Wow.
but I'm trying the different, the multi-frequency versus, the 15 and the 20. I'm going back and forth between the different programs, trying to figure out which ones I like the best.
Right.
Yeah, yeah, so I'm just putting in hours, if I find stuff, I find stuff. And I brought it down to this excavation because they clear cut everything. So I went down on Sunday and it was very cold. And I
Mhm.
put in about 2 hours in an area that I knew would be very trashy because all of that brush, all of those trees, it's near a busy street. So those trees and bushes captured a lot of the trash that had blown in and people throw their cans. And after like the second time of emptying my giant pouch, I was like, all right, I am cold. I can't do this. I'm done for the day.
Right.
I
Right.
just
Oh
dug
my gosh.
so many holes. I'm like, yep, I'm good. But I ended up finding a silver pendant among the trash. So
Really?
so the machine is handling, very well in different areas that I've brought it so far, and we'll see. I'm going to be bringing it to Pennsylvania here this weekend. So
Oh, yeah. Tell us about all that.
yeah,
I
so
wish I was going.
I wish you were too. So John and I head out early Friday morning, and we're making the trek from Maine to Pennsylvania, and we're going to be doing the come out swinging hunt. So pretty excited by that. Never
That's
he
awesome.
Yeah, he nor I have never detected Pennsylvania, so it will be able to add another checklist. And yeah, so pretty excited, historic area. I can't wait to see, a lot of friends are going to be there, and yay, I'm so excited.
Man, yeah, that's on my bucket list to go to PA too. I've never been, and I've been invited so many times.
I
And
know.
unfortunately, I am really getting close. Tomorrow, my manager and I have a meeting with a big production company on a project, TV project we've been working on. And he's making me stay home because we're getting very close to a contract. So um, that's, I mean, I'm really getting excited. Yeah, we got some real exciting news today. So
Yay.
we've got this meeting tomorrow, and I'm really excited about it. We're getting close, and um, if it happens, it's going to be really big. It's really big.
That's
Uh,
awesome, though.
uh,
So everyone
we'll see
listening,
what happens.
send that positivity out into the universe. It sounds like
Whew.
not that not that Gypsy needs it, but definitely worth it, right?
We all need it. We all need a little
True.
more positivity in the universe.
Absolutely.
That's so
Absolutely.
true. Um, but
Absolutely. Speaking of
anyway, so
positivity, so did Digstock
uh-huh.
have the giant display case that like people, the different, people bottle dump
They
digging or
did.
tell me, did you have a favorite that was in the case that
You
wasn't your
know,
own?
the case was always so crowded when I would go up there. And so I actually got a friend to go up there and video that for me. But before a lot of this stuff was put in the case, there was actually one really cool find that, um, I mean, it was crazy. A guy found an arrowhead, and apparently it was an area I just walked by.
Ah,
And yeah, that's my luck. There were several artifacts found. I've heard that there was a lot of pottery found, Native American pottery, and also arrowheads. I did get to see some of those, and some of that will be in my video, of course, when it comes out. So, um, you know, um, it I I don't know. It's weird. I find a lot of Native American pieces in Texas, and
yeah.
especially where I had just moved from, but not as much, in the area I live currently. What's really crazy is up the road where my aunt lives. When I was a kid, they used to plow the garden with this tiller,
Hmm.
and they would go out there, and right after rain, before they planted and stuff, they would find Native American pottery.
Ooh.
And I told my aunt the other day, I told her, I said, hey, we should go do some sifting in your garden and see what we can find. Um, because it's something I did as a kid, and I would still love to find. Now, my brother in this area, he goes and finds arrowheads all the time, and he's
That's
found it
awesome.
on the property um, that we're on right now. It's about 80 acres of land in East Texas, and yeah, there's been some. He's got a nice collection and stuff of arrowheads and stuff like that. Really cool stuff. Love finding that stuff. Have you ever found any when you were out metal detecting or mudlarking or anything like that?
Sadly, no. Nope. It's on my list. I hope to eventually, but nope. I mean,
Wow.
I did find the silver annular brooch, which would have been a trade item. Um,
Oh yeah.
but no, no actual Native American artifacts. Hopefully eventually.
Okay.
Maybe, maybe eventually. I keep
You
being
never
told
know.
there's a couple people I talk to that are like, you're just gonna have to, FaceTime me and put me down, like facing where you're walking. They've got to be there. Those are areas that they'd be in. And, again, I think my eyes are more made for finding those marbles and the clay
Those little
pipes and the
bitty beads that
stems.
you find,
Yeah.
though, you've got the eye for it. You just have to train. Part of it is location, location, location. So, um, if you ever get to come to Texas, we can of course try to hit some of those spots, but if we have time. But it really does boil down to location. And apparently, at Digstock, we were in one of those locations where a lot of those kind of artifacts were found, and I guess still being found. So it's really cool. And so I will have some video footage of the display cases. There was some amazing finds found.
That's awesome. That's so
Wow,
cool. I can't wait. I can't wait to see. And didn't you have another new video that you just put out, right?
Yes, and actually it is an older video. I've had the footage for quite a while, but this footage was after I had filmed with Freddie Dodge for the Gold Mine Rescue, and I went back later. I went back to Oregon where we filmed at Virtue Gold Mine there, and I got to metal detect part of that ghost town that's there, and I got to gold prospect. And so if you haven't checked out my latest video, I hope you will take the time to do it. It is a longer video. It's like 40 minutes long from beginning to end, but if you watch the whole video, the wind was absolutely insane. Now, I do have a piece that you gave me, actually. You sent it, I think, as a part of my birthday gift.
Yes.
That I do have now that I can fit on my phone, the little, what do you call it, the little muff thing that fits on there to help with the wind noise and cut that down.
Yep.
And but unfortunately, I didn't have it back then when I was filming that video. So the wind, you kind of have to listen to the wind a little because it was crazy windy. But if y'all get a chance, please check out my latest video. It was a great time getting to explore that gold mine. And I did put out originally, if you get a chance, you can go check some of the footage when we actually explored inside part of the gold mine. And that was pretty cool. So you have to kind of go back a ways, and you can look at that video as well. And it's the same place. So if y'all get a chance, check that out. Just a lot of fun, Go prospecting, to me, though, have you ever had a chance to go prospect, Amanda?
I have never found actually any gold. Ended up just finding pyrite. But it's the Swift River in New Hampshire up off the Kangamangas, and we all went with our swirly prospecting green things. Yeah, that's how much I follow it. I need to probably figure out the name. Seeing I've used them before with you, the sifter type thing.
Oh, yeah.
But yeah, no, we didn't find any.
Wow.
There's supposed to be some.
Yeah, it's a lot of hard work. And you can see that in the video, because what we did is we sit there and we shoveled pay dirt for a whole hour and barely got 2 flakes, but it was a lot of fun, and you just never know. It's kind of like, same with dirt fishing, with metal detecting, as you know. Sometimes you get on those hot spots where there might have been an old homestead, or there might have been some built, a lot of history there, and you can pull out a lot of relics, And the same thing goes for the gold. We were definitely on a hot spot with the gold, with the Virtue gold mine that used to be there. And then sometimes, you may pan and work for an hour prospecting for gold, and you may barely get anything, and then you might do it another hour and get tons of stuff. So it's a lot like that as well. So,
yeah,
but it was fun, a really fun experience. I enjoyed doing it.
Yeah, I forget who I was just talking to about that type of thing. And I was going back and forth, and I was like, between mudlarking and dump digging, you can come home with like 4 bags of like big bags of treasure. But in metal detecting, unless you do the research and you're getting on a site, like you might come home with a few things here and there. I mean, if you're hitting a relatively virgin site, there's a good chance of coming home with quite a bit, or like a barn site
Right.
or things like that. But it was funny. I forget. I was just talking to someone about that, and I'm like, it's
Really?
crazy. And yet John's like, oh yeah, yeah, she comes home with many bags of treasure. I'm like, yeah, I do. From the dump digging. You know it. You you
Right.
you walk out of
I
there
do
with your
know
pockets filled, your
it.
backpacks.
Keeping stuff that you don't even think that other people would even understand why you put it in your pocket or your
Yep.
bag or anything. And I'm working on an autobiography too. My manager has been encouraging me to do this, and I was working on it today for a little bit as well. And I started thinking back about, you know, the times when my dad kind of, all the way back to my childhood and the times my dad would take me to an old dump. And what my dad would do is he would go in there and he's always been a Mr. Fix It. He could fix just about anything.
Mhm.
Whether it be a radio, a computer, a TV. He actually built our TV that we used for many, many years, like 10 or 15 years. I can't even remember. Built it from scratch, and he's built computers, and he used to do TV and repair and stuff like that. And what we would do, he would take us as kids. We would go to the junkyard, to the dump, a modern dump,
Mhm.
not like what we're talking with the dump digging. And my father would take me out there, and we would go digging through these dumps, and he would like pull out old test tubes from radios and old TVs and these parts, even from old appliances. And he could fix just about anything. He'd take those parts and bring it back. And not only would he be able to fix stuff, but he would also invent things out of junk. And it's the same thing what you and I can do and other detectors do as they take these old things that would seem to be like these old relics that we pick up that really don't seem like anything, or these shards of glass, or other things we find when we're out metal detecting, and they make art with it. Same thing, they're repurposing that in a different way. And that's like you and me when we were out there meadlarking and we were bringing back stuff that I know others would not consider treasure, but
Yeah.
one man's trash is another man's treasure. So
Yes, absolutely.
definitely.
Absolutely.
Um, so we should talk about last night,
Oh yeah,
I think.
absolutely. Yes, let me go find it. If you want to bring it up, I will put the link in.
So okay, yeah, last night on Lost Boys Recovery, I think Andy is in the house now. Their YouTube channel, you can go check out Lost Boys Recovery. They were featuring some amazing women diggers, and some of them are in chat tonight. Some other lady diggers, and let's see, we had Amanda, Digger to Guys. We had Nancy Banner. I don't think she could make it for some reason, but they still talked about her. We had Audra from Jersey History Hunter in the house. We had Teresa, the treasure hunter, and
With
who else
Deej.
did we have? And Deej. Deej was in the house too right now. So yeah, it was a great show featuring some women diggers and amazing. And we appreciate Andy, and we appreciate you and your channel. And for featuring women, and I know it's been what, Women's History Month. What
Yep.
has it been this month? Women's
Yeah.
History Month.
Or
There's some
women's.
amazing women in the past. Not too long ago when I was sitting at the airport, I remember seeing one lady posted. They had all these women on the wall of this airport for the Women's History Month. And one was actually one woman that I mentioned in one of my videos um, not too long ago. So I thought that was really, really cool. It's amazing how history keeps popping up in our lives, and to be able to hopefully someday we will all, we're all making our own little legacy in our own way and pulling up the history from the ground. And, we're making history too.
Yep. Absolutely. Saving it and trying to make it.
Saving it and trying to make it too. So
Yeah,
anyway, it
it
was an
was a good
honor,
show.
and
Was a
it
little
was.
bit past my bedtime, but it was worth it.
Right. Uh, and I know Amanda's time zone, as most of you, it's only 7:32 here. It's 7. It's like 8:32 where you are, so it's an hour difference. And I know that was probably pretty late for you, but it was great. It was fun. Really enjoyed it. So,
Um, I have a question. Oh yeah. So I think the pre-recorded episode we did 2 weeks ago. So we did it Monday at lunch because I couldn't do it that evening. I had,
right,
I
right.
think we might have talked about the AAA gas cost. So from your trek from Texas, I know you all drove to North Carolina. How did the prediction work when you all used that gas calculator? Was it pretty spot
You
on?
know, it was it was pretty good. I mean, we probably saved, even with gas prices being up. That was a handy tool. We probably saved about $400. Uh, don't remember the final total that Zola had when she added up the gas. She would have to let us know that. But I do know that, you know, it was, we saved some money, and the app that she had on her phone too, we were able to look at gas stations and the prices that last was reported for that gas station. So that helped a lot too, to be able to find those locations when you're driving, because gas is so high right now.
Yeah.
So anyway, um, but yeah, that was very. What was the name of that app?
So it is, and I think I just put it in there. It was gasprices.aaa.com. And then it was AAA dash gas dash cost calculator. I'm gonna put it again in the in the in the chat because I'm not sure if I actually gave the correct. So let's try it again. It is gasprices.aaa.com backslash AAA dash gas dash cost dash calculator. And that's what we're
That's a
using.
lot of dashes.
Yeah, it is a lot of dashes. So that's what we're using to we were figuring out how much to set aside to get down to Pennsylvania. So I was curious if it
So you're
worked.
using it too?
Yes,
Yeah,
yeah.
let us know how that works. How far a drive is it going to be for y'all to
I think it
Pennsylvania?
said 6 hours, or I could be just kidding myself and it's 8.
Wow.
Uh, But either way, I mean, John's used to getting up at 3 and I'm up usually at 4, 4:30. So we were just going to get up at, our usual time and hit the road so that way we're there by midday. So,
Wow.
yeah. And
Well, y'all be safe. I wish I was going.
I wish you were
I mean,
too.
but we're going.
I
I'm
wish
sure
you
we've
were
got some
too.
upcoming stuff coming. We'll see though. I just hope I don't have to cancel anything. I know you and I have been wanting to do this next trip for quite some time, and right now with it getting close to it sounding like possible contract, I'm like, whew. And
Yeah.
it's more than one thing. There's another thing that I don't know how much my manager wants me to talk about it. But there's actually not just a TV show, but there's possible movie in the works. I don't even think I've mentioned that to you
Nope.
yet.
It's awesome.
So just found out today that he talked to this producer again, and
Woo.
they're already starting to write a script. So, whew, some crazy stuff happening. I'll tell you,
Yeah, I would
crazy stuff.
say so. I mean, honestly, I told you this earlier, if you can't make it to Bone or Best of New England, absolutely we understand. I mean, will I miss you? Absolutely. Um,
Yeah.
but total, I mean, and everyone else, I'm sure. And if they don't understand, just send them my way and I'll make them understand.
Yeah, and if anybody is wanting me to go to anything, you can contact my manager. Just go to my website, gypsydigs.com, and you can contact my manager directly on there. His phone number's on there, as well as the email. I think it's Gypsy Jules Manager, and his name is Randy, and he will be glad to talk to you about future events or anything like that, because the whole ball game is really changing for me, so it won't work like it has in the past. Uh, Unfortunately, it'll be a lot different. So uh, he's going to be handling, as my manager, all my events, everything. So, and he actually got some really good deals on hotels this last time.
That's awesome.
So we saved a lot of money there too. So he's doing a great job.
Yeah, that's
Um,
that's awesome.
what else are we forgetting to talk about here?
Oh, I'm sure there's a bunch. Yeah, I'm absolutely sure there's like a ton of things. I don't know. I know somebody was asking if you were coming back to Rhode Island anytime soon.
Oh yeah, I wonder who that is.
Uh, um,
Is it a
and-
button dump friend
yes,
or
indeedy.
somebody else?
No, button dump.
Yeah.
Button dump.
Oh man, I'm me, and I have dreams about that place, and I know you do too.
Actually, you know what though? Since our last trek in October, there's another place that I dream about far more than the button dump, and it's the beach. The beach of many
Yeah,
gems and beads and coins, and
yeah, yeah.
the amount of bucket listers you could potentially get in like one trip is just,
I would like to go back there right after a big rainstorm,
yeah, yep,
or where it washes more stuff down.
absolutely. I'd like to
Uh,
spend a week there
in a
when the
really, 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 really low tide. Really, really low tide.
See, the thing is, I'm just gonna work out my remaining days at work, retire, and then I'm gonna move there. So I can
Yeah.
go every day. And then I can be like, Gypsy, come visit me on the beach. Actually,
Yeah, and I
that would
know you've gotten a lot of crazy weather too, so I know you hadn't been able to get out as much. You said it was what, 20 degrees the other day?
it was cold today. I think at maybe 3 or 4 when the sun decided to come out, it was 30. So we went from,
Oof.
55, 56, 55 to almost 60 to today being 30. I think it's supposed to drop down to the teens tonight. And then I think eventually by the end of the week it's supposed to get warm, but they're talking snow. And I know I heard and saw the news and the weather, and I know that snow has hit a lot of our friends across the United States, and it just seems like it's just another blast of cold. So we were in fake spring number two. Now we're back in winter again. And then it's not going to be spring, it's going to be mud season. I mean, it's been a little bit muddy here and there, but once the rain kicks up and it warms up,
Yeah.
yeah, it will be mud season. So that will be, it's fun though. I don't mind digging in mud. So it makes it a little bit more difficult, especially when it's sticky mud.
When
Sticky
it sticks to your
mud.
boots
Yes,
and
everything.
yes, yes.
Um,
So true.
but I think Odd just said in chat too, it's supposed to be a beautiful weekend in Pennsylvania. So I'm gonna leave the cold for a few days
Yep.
and
There you go.
yep.
Go warm up.
Yes, indeed. And hopefully find some cool history. And I mean, to me, I'm like, you know what? Even if I don't find anything, because you can never guarantee on anything that you're really gonna
Oh
find
no, you
something that,
can't.
but to just be walking and on such historical ground and near such historical ground is really neat. So,
Oh, it really is. Do you ever, when you're out detecting in some of these locations, try to imagine? I mean, because a lot of these places we go, there's nothing. It may be just a field, and all you're stumbling upon is maybe some shards of glass, some bricks, and then the metal stuff that we dig. Do you ever try to imagine what it would have been like? And especially when you pull out one of those objects, you know, what it
all
must have looked like
the
all the
time,
time?
all the time, all the time. Because up here, we used to have giant trees, like huge. Some of them around are still relatively huge. We have a lot of big sugar maples that, they get really like you can't put your arms around them. And then a lot of it was all cut and sent down the river to be made into ships for King George, or I might be screwing up my history a little bit, but basically it was all clear cut, logged, and sent downstream. Now you can tell the new growth based on tree size. So in my head, it's crazy to think, what this looked like with these giant trees, and then even thinking, okay, get rid of that new growth that might be, still 100 years that these trees might be there. And just it's crazy to think the different stages it went, these areas went through. And
Oh yeah,
I think of that a lot too because of the stone walls. The stone walls weren't there. They were
right.
put there. So it's one of those, yeah, it's crazy. It's crazy. But yeah, all the time. And I
So those stone walls where you live, how many times do you really do you ever just take the time and go down the whole stone wall and detect it? Do you ever do that?
I
Or
haven't
have
gone
you?
down
Or just near?
I haven't gone down a whole well, so almost all the properties around here have stone walls around them.
Right,
Um,
right.
I've gone down quite a few of them and have found some really neat things. Lots of buttons, some coins.
Mhm.
In my head, though, I think, if I was hauling these big stones and you had buttons on everything, there's a good chance they'd pop while you were bending over to, pick this giant stone up. And a lot of oxen stuff too,
Right.
because they helped move the,
Move those rocks.
yep.
Yeah.
But you also have a lot of barbed wire, lots of barbed wire.
Oh,
So,
really? Huh.
yep. So that's one of those things
Now,
that gloves are,
do
I
you
always wear gloves when I'm doing stone walls.
really?
Yep.
I'm curious when barbed wire actually was was started being used. I know it dates back pretty far, but do you happen to have a date on that?
Supposedly it was 1874. Like I think
Okay,
1870. Yeah,
1874.
hold on, Googling.
So, do you think a lot of that barbed wire? I know where you live. Stuff dates back to the 1700s.
Hmm.
Um, so if you happen upon one of those places where there was the old barbed wire, do you think that was added later? Maybe, um,
Yes,
you
families.
know,
Yeah, the
when they
families.
started adding the lines, I mean, the fences to, keep their cattle in or their whatever instead of using the actual stone walls like they did for like before then.
Yeah, absolutely. Because a lot of the home sites were kept in the family, and on top of being kept in the family, they were so you'd have multiple houses built up. So your parents would be in one, and you might be, on that same because they'd have acres and acres of property, and then they'd
Mhm.
build a house for the son and the daughter-in-law, or the daughter-in-law and the son. And I think like probably depending on what they were growing or the different animals because they'd move them into different pastures, the barbed wire probably definitely, like, I'm thinking, yeah, absolutely was added after the fact because like you did say, like, the areas up here, they're older than that. um
Right.
and
That's
some of
why I
the
was
stone
surprised to hear
walls.
you say that about, the areas you hunt. The barbed wire here in Texas, that's every
Yeah.
single, every property I've ever detected on had some barbed wire. But it was just kind of surprising me to hear you say that
Yeah.
about the barbed wire. So that's interesting.
Yep. I mean, there's one that we were invited to, that other excavation site that the our friends built their home, and we got to detect it. Well, we detected it before they excavated it, and when they were excavating, they found brick, and they were like, "You need to come back. We're pretty sure we found another foundation." And those stone walls in there, there was no barbed wire, but that was based on the date of the coins and everything we found there. That was a 1780s
Hmm.
cellar holes. So yeah, didn't find any barbed wire there, but I know that the other properties that we have that have cellar holes have a current farmhouse, or a house that's in use, and there's barbed wire around those stone walls.
Hmm. Interesting.
Yeah, it's crazy to think, yeah, barbed wire, eh, mid bane of the existence of some of these stone walls.
I know when I was up visiting you and we were going around some of those, rock walls, I
Hmm.
did swing the detector up a little just to check, you know, and, I can totally imagine someone hiding their little stash of their little bit of treasures, in one of those stone walls because some of those walls would be easy to move a rock or put it in a crevice, and
Yeah.
hide, their valuables, their jewelry, their coins, their,
Hmm.
that type of thing. So, there's got to be some of those places and homesteads where, there had to have been some little caches of goodies hidden in some of those stone walls for sure.
Yeah. Yep. And then I mean, I've talked to some of the residents of the town. I mean, sadly, a few have passed now that I got to become pretty well acquainted with and actually become friends. And they remember, hiding things in their garden, and there was a loose stone in the fireplace, and there's a lot of different places like that. And I think Mike said in chat underneath the fence post, and I've heard that one too. Under the fence post.
Oh, yeah.
There's so
I've
many
had
different. We should.
many,
Yeah.
yeah.
I mean,
Fence lines.
I hide things here on occasion, and then I forget where I hid. It's kind of like the
That's
birthday
me.
present.
That,
Yeah.
funny.
Yeah.
That's
I
funny.
just
And
found a
people, go ahead.
I was just gonna say,
You just
I
found
was
what?
moving the room around, my office and relic room, and I just found a Christmas present that I had hid away. I'm like, oh,
Really?
guess
That's funny.
I'm gonna have to wait a few months and do it for a birthday.
Yeah, right. That's funny. I've done that before too, hiding stuff from my kids that I didn't want them to see for Christmas or
Hmm.
birthday or something, and then forgetting about it, and then later like, oh, find it.
Yeah.
And I guess the same thing definitely happened with people that might have, especially buried uh, and hidden, special not just more, more than one cache of treasure or goodies on these old homesteads, because I'm sure a lot of them, probably had multiple stashes of different things, that they hid, because sometimes you don't want to put all your stuff in one spot, in case one of them is found, or, something like that. So, that, also when those people passed away, and if that cache or treasure was still hidden, you know, that it would, still be there. Have you ever heard this? And I'm sure some of our listeners have before. Back in the old days, I'd heard that when they were going on like the stagecoaches or the like the old wagon trails, and they would stop to camp, sometimes they would dig a little place or a hole where, and they would either put their stash or cache under the fire where they built or they would a lot of times just grab a rock and roll it on top, so it'd be easy access. If, let's say, they were attacked in the night or something and had to just grab, they would just roll the rock away and grab it. But you can imagine, things that happen like that too. I can imagine there's a lot of interesting caches out there, so, of lost treasures like that.
Yeah. Yep, I'm
And there's some
sure.
rocks.
I'm sure. And I'll have to look into it. I remember it's one of the Poltergeist movies too, or one of those, the paranormal movies,
Oh, really?
where they were burying a silver cross at the corner of each of the property. So
Yeah.
that kind of has bugged me out a little bit. Like if I find a silver cross, I think on a property, I'll probably rebury it. Like
Uh-huh.
leave that there. Don't want to bring it home. Um, but there's things like that too. I know, um, I, I'm on TikTok, you see some strange stuff, and people are like, you do this and you bury this on your property to just sell your home. And I'm like, it's kind of, again, I was someone else, same person I was talking to this week. I'm like, it's one of those things, if you're digging someone's property too, I always ask, any chance you have any pets buried? Like, do you have a certain section? Because that's not, all of a sudden you're digging and you pull up Fido's dog tag and it's not just the dog tag.
Yes.
So it's one of those
Yes, I've always been
conversations.
fearful of that. Have you? When you're detecting someone's property and they're like, "Oh,
Hmm.
well, my dog's buried somewhere out there," and I'm like, "Oh, gee, thanks."
Yep. I try to make sure. I'm like, okay, so whereabouts? Yep, definitely worth asking. So that's I'm preparing my list of questions again for some new properties. Is then that's definitely on there. Do you anybody buried out there? So or any pets, not anyone. Hopefully they didn't just bury Ma and Pa in the backyard without a stone.
Oh gosh, yeah, I've got that fear too. Don't want to dig a body.
No,
No,
no. And that's the thing
no,
too
thank
is
you.
you're like for me anyway, and I'm sure you as well, and many of our listeners, like you go into areas that possibly, really aren't visited often by the public. So it's, I don't know. So that's another reason why
Yeah.
I'm kind of glad John's been going
Oh
out with me
yeah.
lately. I'm like, hey.
Well, not to mention a lot of the remote areas that you and I go into. I can't tell you how many homeless people that I happen upon.
Yeah.
And I know, like, um, even if you watch a lot of videos by other metal detectors, they happen upon a lot of these camps, and when they're out metal detecting, where people, I remember watching an Aqua Chigger video many years ago, and he's, in this happens upon a homeless camp, and stuff like that. And it brings back so many memories with me too, and that's why I've always, not that they're they're dangerous or anything like that. It's just that you just never know what you're walking into. You could be walking into some hunters that are illegally on some property too. That's another thing that scares me. Um,
Hmm.
on some of these properties. You know what I mean?
Yeah, I do.
Uh,
I do. Take all the cautions, all of them.
yes.
But
Well,
I
I
can't
can't believe
believe.
this
Yeah.
time has flown by. And I know there is another podcast on after us. So I know a lot of you are probably going to hop on over there and listen to them. But we really appreciate you being here and listening to us ramble about our latest, treasure hunting. So I've had fun though, just hearing about your stuff this week and
Yeah,
some of the stuff. I meant to ask you one thing before this. What you said you found a thimble?
I did.
Was it silver?
No, it's a brass one, brass copper.
Okay. I
Yep.
did find one at Big Stock, but it was aluminum. It wasn't
Ah,
even brass. But anyway, I love digging them. It's
yes.
still on my bucket list. I haven't found a silver one. No silver.
So that's a question
So,
for you too. So if you find an item that's on your bucket list, but you end up giving
uh-huh.
it back to the property owner, is it still on your bucket list or?
It still remains on my bucket list because I've had several of that. There's some stuff that I donated that was on my bucket list that I donated to museums, and then there's other stuff that I gave back to the property owner that is now still on my bucket list because
Yes.
I gave it away, and
Yeah.
I'm sure you're the same way.
I am. I am. Because now I'm like, oh, I should probably go back and revisit my list, even though I found it,
Right,
and that which is awesome,
right.
and I'm glad I saved it for them. I still want one.
Well, yeah. Well, thank you all for joining us tonight. We appreciate all of you, and I hope you tune in next Monday night. And we appreciate you being here. And thanks all, and you all happy hunting and good luck to you out there.
Good night, everyone.
Good night, y'all.